Hi, thank you for visiting my RC channel. My name is Bill and I'm a RC radio control enthusiast, and I also do RC reviews. Thank you for joining me for this review of this URUAV UR85HD Bushido 85mm Cinewhoop FPV racing drone, supplied courtesy of Banggood.com to review and share with you. Comes in this case, not a hard case but fairly rigid. Got a little carry strap, and if I open it, this is the UR85HD. So this also comes in a version that's not HD, just the UR85 model, and that has a Cadex EOS 2 camera, and this HD version has the Cadex Turtle V2. So this can take video at 1080p at 60 frames per second. You've got a 1.8mm turbo lens on here. This is a TVL 800 camera with a 155-degree field of view. And to record video, it's got an SD card slot on board here, and this takes a class 10 8 up to 64 gigabyte SD card. And this is a BNF, bind and fly version, so you can get it with a DSM, a Fly Sky or an FR Sky receiver. And this one I've got has got a FR Sky receiver, and you can also get a PMP with no receiver. Now, in addition to this being quite a strong and robust craft, this comes with the new Crazy Bee F4 Pro flight controller. Also comes with these nice 1102 9000 kV brushless motors and these 1.9-inch tri-blade props, and these have a 1.5mm hole and the motors are 1.5mm shaft. This also has smart audio, so you can change settings via OSD or even using your radio controller. Here's a little cable over here, and this comes with a menu board that you can plug into an OSD over here. Got a 25 up to 200 milliwatt VTX, 40 channels with race band, and we've got the 5.8 gigahertz antenna sticking out at the back here. Our battery connection is an XT30 plug, and this comes with this URUAV pre-cell 11.1 volt 300 mAh 30C with a burst of up to 80C LiPo battery that fits in over here, and holds quite securely, and it can take 3-cell batteries about this size. These Happy Model batteries fit in here as well, but when we've got something like this, we're fairly limited in terms of batteries because we're limited in terms of size. I wish manufacturers would put something more versatile that you can use various batteries on too, because this can also use a 2-cell battery, and if I've got this 2-cell here, but to try and fit this in, just a little bit too big. Got the USB ports over here to plug into Betaflight. Then over here we've got two buttons. The one on the left is a boot button, and the one on the right here is the bind button. One has to be careful not to get these two confused. Would be good if one was possibly in red so you can distinguish between the two. Plug and play motors, so very quick and easy to change motors on this, which is good. Our little 2.4 gigahertz antenna at the bottom here. And always good to check and make sure when you get a new craft that the screws are all properly secured. Like this, not really properly secured, so I need to make sure they're all fastened properly too. There we also get 4 spare propellers. Always good to have spare propellers. Now we do get this battery strap, but it'll be a bit tricky to put this battery strap on here in any case. Get a star Phillips screwdriver, and then we can use 2 1-cell batteries to connect and plug into the XT30. So good to see it come with a connection like this as an option. We get some spare screws and also a prop removal tool. And this is the Osd board that plugs onto here to navigate through the Osd menu. And we get the instructions on this bit of paper. They give us the channels and the bands, the Osd menu, proper motor directions, ESC and flashing firmware, to do a flight controller firmware update, the specs, the F4FC layout and connections, binding procedure, receiver configuration, arm disarm mode configuration, and some receiver settings. And then it looks like we've got a little buzzer here too, but this would need to be fitted on yourself. I'm going to just take the hood off and let's have a quick peek under the hood. So this is the hood off, and we can see the VTX board here with our F4 flight control under here and our camera board on top here. Camera is adjustable, and to remove this, it's just 1, 2, 3, 4 small screws that need to be removed. Here 2 1-cell batteries. It's a tight fit to get 2 1-cell batteries in, but it can go in, and this connection connected to plug into here, but quite a bit of loose wiring underneath that would need to be secured somehow with this. So that's a quick look under the hood. Let me just put it back on. So to bind, I've got the radio controller set up. I've got it on D8 and ready to bind. So I need to just plug in power and plug in the battery. Hold down the bind button here for 2 seconds. Oops. Then lights go solid, ready to bind. Press bind on the radio controller. Lights are blinking, so that should be binding. Turn off binding here. Disconnect. and this is it bound. Now let me just connect it up to Betaflight and have a look at the settings in Betaflight. So these are the Betaflight settings, well, the default Betaflight settings, and we can see the target is Crazy B F4 FR. So always good to do a backup in case you need to restore at a later stage. If you don't know how to do a backup, just search for CLI backup and you'll find a lot of information on how to do that. We look at ports. So we got USB VCP enabled here. Then on UART1, we've got the TBS Smart Audio enabled here. Look at configuration. What D-Shot 600. Okay, so it's got motors that not to spin when armed. I prefer it otherwise, but I'll change that later. We go further down here. Got accelerometer enabled here. Craft name UR85HD. Okay, so the receiver for FR Sky should be SPI RX support. Then FR Sky D is to bind on 8 channels, and you can change it to FR Sky X if you want to bind on 16 channels. So I've bound on 8 channels. And then here we've got AD strip enabled, OSD anti-gravity dynamic filter. And then all of these enabled here. And the beeper configuration. Look at power and battery. Okay, no settings have been put in for minimum maximum cell voltages, which I'll put in. I'll just take you through the default settings as it comes here. File save, set to drop, which is okay and good. Okay, then these are the default PIDs. Okay, receiver, need to make sure it's on TAER. So have a look. I've got throttle, I've got pitch, and I've got roll. Go to modes. Now this is a problem. So it looks as though there needs to be a firmware update. And now it's all frozen. Okay, so we need to update the firmware. So let me disconnect, reconnect. Okay, before I update the firmware, we can see LED strip here. And if we just go to CLI, and I type in dump, telemetry lost. Then we get all the CLI settings. Go up to the top here. Again, we can see the target is Crazy B 4FR. So this is dated December the 11th, 2018. So to update the firmware, we've got to go for this target for a later version. Okay, while it's not frozen, if I go back up to here, and I click on update firmware. Okay, so now we need to choose the board. Let's look for Crazy B. So it's Crazy B 4FR. And we can see here there's a version the 1st of the 7th, 2019. Before you plug in, just make sure that auto connect is off. So to do a firmware update, before you plug this into the USB on your computer, press down and hold the boot button. And then as soon as it powers up, you can release it and you can see there's a solid blue light. So this is now in boot mode. If it wasn't in boot mode, there'd be different colored lights flashing. And go to firmware flasher here, or you can click on update firmware and it takes you to this section here. choose a board. So you could choose Crazy B4FR, and here's the most recent firmware update, dated the 1st of July 2019. Better to put no reboot sequence and full chip arrays, and then click on load firmware online. This firmware is difficult to find to download it to a local file. And then if we go here, press flash firmware. Then if you get this message, fail to open serial report, you can just close Betaflight down completely again, open it up again, update firmware, and then do it again, say load firmware online, and then click on flash firmware. Now this is still failing to open because I've got an issue on this laptop where it's got manual selection, but you should have a COM port here. And if it still doesn't do it, then you've got to follow each step of this sequence here. Okay. And this will include loading up drivers that you'll find on the first page here, and these links over here. So they're the CP210X drivers, the STM USB VCP drivers, and the latest ZX for Windows can be downloaded here. So you just click on these and then follow the process on the firmware page, and it should flash. So I've updated the firmware on different computer. Let me just connect it normally. Now I can put auto connect on again. Click in here. Now if I go to modes, I've got modes loaded here. Okay, so if I go back to the beginning now, go to configuration. Now it's got don't spin the motors when armed off, but now it's saying one shot 125 instead of D shot 600. Okay, the craft name has disappeared, so I'm going to put it in again. Okay, we've still got SPRX support. It's now gone to FR Sky X, so one can bind on 16 channels, but I've already bound on D, so I'm going to change that back to D. Got accelerometer here. Telemetry air mode enabled this time, OSD, anti-gravity and dynamic filter. All of these still enabled. Power and battery, this time we got minimum cell voltage at 3.3, maximum at 4.3, and warning cell at 3.5. I'm going to leave that as it is. Failsafe still set to drop. The pits may have changed, so these are the default pits now after the firmware update. Click on receiver. Now this is AETR, and this I should be TAER or FR Sky mode 2. Just going to check. Click on save. So receiver, still got throttle, still got yaw. Okay. Then modes, I'm going to add range, lever auto. This is going to be my arming switch here. Angle, horizon. Let me add range here. Okay, I'm going to put horizon in the lower end here. I'm going to add range for beeper, although I haven't put the beeper on. I'll make provision for it here. I'll put beeper on auxiliary 3. I can't see air mode and acro, but if I leave it on horizon here, I go on my 3-way switch. This position should take it into air mode, and that should take it into acro mode. I also don't see flip over after crash. Let me just save this. Okay, let's have a look at OSD. Okay, so no values are in here. Okay, I want main battery voltage. I want fly mode. On craft name. BTX channel. MAH draw. Leave it on auto here. I prefer metric, which is fine. Now, yeah, this is interesting. It says altitude, but let's just have a look and see if it'll bring it up. Oh, if I click on it, it looks as though we have got altitude, which is interesting. I'm going to put altitude up in the top left here. I'll just put low voltage down here. Craft name here. MAH there. There. Mode here. So now let me move this across to there. Put battery voltage here. Try that again. Yeah, there we go. Home direction. Let's have a look at this. Oh, okay, interesting. I'm going to put that over here. And let's see, we've also got remaining time estimates. So I'm going to put over there. And save. And then at the end, good to back up all your own settings. Again, as you should have done in the beginning, these are the settings in Betaflight. Oh, and if you do the firmware updates, see it didn't enable the smart audio on UART1. So we go VTX smart audio, save and reboot. Okay, and then to access the OSD settings on your radio controller, put the left throttle in the middle.
Telemetry lost. Telemetry recovered.
Stick left, push right.
Telemetry lost.
And
Telemetry
then
recovered.
the menu comes up here. So then by pressing the right stick to the right, you can go into the profile. So you've got PID profiles, PIDs, miscellaneous PP, volt PP, rate profile, rates, filter, dynamic filter, copy profile, or back. Then under features, got black box. Here you can change the VTX band and also the channel. Gives you the frequency. You can set the power, so it can either go 25 or 200 or 500, 800, but this should only go up to 200. Leave it at 25. If you want to save anything, you set. You can go into the configuration here as well. Back. LED strip. You can change the settings, although this doesn't have an LED strip. Go back. Yeah, I've got a separate one for the power and power meters. Failsafe, procedure drop, guard time, etc. Back. And then if you make any changes, you click on sets and then save and exit or save and reboot. And then for the camera settings, you plug in the menu board, press down, and this menu comes up. And then you can navigate through it. So if we have a look here and we select video, can change loop video, auto recording, I'm actually going to put on. Wide dynamic range, leave on, press save and exit. Camera settings, got exposure, metering mode, field of view, screen flip, so you can flip the screen horizontal, light frequency, save and exit, image effects, sharpness, contrast, brightness, reset, save and exit. TV system, you can choose NTSC or PAL here. Look at system settings, choose language, SD card info. I've put it in SD card in. There we go. Can format the SD card. Look at system info. This gives us the version. Can do a factory reset, save and exit. And then you can choose your resolution 4:3 or 16:9. Those are the settings for the camera using the menu card. And then if you want to change bands or channels manually, there is a button over in here. Difficult to show you, it's really tricky. But if you can see the end of the screwdriver tip here, the button here that you can use to change bands and channels. Can get to it this way. And then the micro SD card slots in here quite nicely. It's spring loaded. Go in there and then press it in and it clips and holds into position, but no clip to secure it if it gets a knock. So probably wise to have a look and see if it hasn't popped out if you have a crash. And now let me take it for some flights and see how it performs. Okay, so I'm going to just take this UR85HD for a little cruise using two 1-cell batteries to get some video. Now give it a flight with a 3-cell battery. A bit more power with a 3-cell. About a 7 mile per hour wind, but holding okay. Up a bit, full video. Performing nicely, holding nice and steady. Flying nicely. Just keeping a close by for the camera, just seeing how it maneuvers. Spins very nicely, very good. Really happy with the way this performs. Oops, got caught with a gust of wind there. With it being high, it is a little bit susceptible to the wind. A bit of a view of the tree there. Okay, got low battery. Let me bring it in. It's a nice flight. Maneuvers very well. Responds very well. Little bit susceptible to wind, having the high canopy, but not too bad at all. Didn't really even push it. Let me go and have a look at the video and I'll wrap this review up on the bench. So good 1080p at 60 frames per second video recorded on the SD card. Nice field of view, good color and definition. Much better than the 720p FPV DVR video, but I did only have it set at 25 milliwatts. 2.5 minutes flying time on this 300 mAh battery. So a great little Cinewhoop. So please subscribe, like, comment and share if you like my videos.